One of the most highly anticipated launches of the holiday season is in my hands right here, friends. The Prada Beauty Holiday Palette number 10 Platinum. I've been testing this baby out for a couple of days, and I definitely have some thoughts to share with you. We're gonna be doing a look today, swatches, some comparisons that I definitely think you're gonna wanna see. So if you wanna hear my thoughts about the formula, the color story, the price point, everything, then keep watching. As far as I know, this is the first time we've seen a holiday palette from Prada Beauty. This one is gonna be a mixture of 3 shimmering metallics and 1 soft matte. We have a metallic pink, then we have a traditional silver, a classic gold, and a soft matte burgundy. Metallics for holiday makes a lot of sense. It's pretty typical. These are 3 fairly neutral traditional shades, and then the burgundy matte is it's a very trendy color for this fall and winter, so I can kind of see what they're doing there. The packaging is going to be just a little bit different than the regular palettes. It's honestly, guys, almost exact, except it has this little like globe detail on it. Keep in mind that these palettes are refillable, so if you just press this little triangle on the back, you can pop out the makeup, and then you could swap it with, you know, if you have another color story that you would prefer in this limited edition case. As far as I know, this palette is limited edition, and because of that, the price is a little bit higher. So the ones from the main line are $80, already pretty expensive, and then this holiday one is $92. So I'm gonna do my best to help you figure out if it's gonna be worth the $92. What I will call out, guys, is that there's really nothing different in the packaging other than this pattern, and you don't get any more product or anything like that. It really is gonna just depend on if you like this color story and if you like this formula. So once again, I'll do my best to help you guys figure that out. I will link down below, friends, all the places where you can purchase this holiday palette. It is going in and out of stock. I know it's so annoying. I'm sure it's gonna be available at more retailers. So I will have an updated shopping guide linked in the description box down below. I know, it's so annoying, it keeps selling out, but trust me, it's gonna pop up at more retailers, okay? So I'll keep an eye out for you. I'll have an updated shopping guide, and make sure you are following me on Instagram and subscribe to this channel because I always let you guys know when I see things drop and come back in stock. Lastly, I wanna mention that there is no talc in this. There's no fragrance. I don't see any carmine because I know a lot of you guys are either vegan or you're allergic to carmine, and it is made in France. Oh, and also it has a 24-month shelf life. And by the way, if you happen to be enjoying this video, please don't forget to give me a big thumbs up. It really makes a difference, guys. And if you are new here, hi, welcome. My name is Sophia, and this is my channel that is all about having fun with luxury beauty. I really help you guys figure out what are the best products, what's gonna work best for you. We also talk about the luxury beauty industry, what's going on with all of our favorite brands. So if you love luxury beauty, or you just need some advice, some tips, some good products to try out, then you're in the right place, my friend. Hit the subscribe button to join our fam. We would love to have you, and without further ado, let's get into the demo of this beautiful palette. Okay, let's dive in, friends. I'm gonna start off with the shimmering pink. This is the look that I've done a couple of times the past few days. I am going to use all of the shades so you can see what they look like. I'm going in with an Eyeshadow V27. I will link all the brushes that I use in this video in the description box. And as you can see, it is an absolutely gorgeous, very high shine metallic pink. I like the fact that this is a nice soft color, like the finish isn't soft, it's a very high shine metallic, and it does have a little bit of a glittery finish. And when I say glittery, I don't mean like chunky topper. I mean that it's very shimmery. It's very holiday and glitz and glam. If you've never tried the Prada eyeshadows before, I do have a review of some of the ones from the main line, but let me just give you kind of like a synopsis on the formula. The shimmer shades are very creamy. They just glide across the eyes. You could see I like barely had to dip into the shadows, and it just really spreads across the eye incredibly easily. I'm gonna go into the gold next, and I'm using an Eyeshadow W21. These brushes are really good for high shine metallics. And while these apply very elegantly, I just wanna call out the fact that they are very pigmented. They are very metallic. So if you typically don't enjoy, let's say, the Charlotte Tilbury metallics from like her original palettes, or even Pat McGrath, I might say, you might not like this palette. It's not gonna be like a lot of other luxury brands. It's not going to be like Dior or Chanel or Tom Ford. See how much impact I get from just a little tiny bit of product. It's definitely a very luxurious formula, but it's not soft and subtle like other brands. It's Prada, so I think that they're, you know, going for a little bit more of like a pigmented, edgy type of look, because that's kind of the vibe of their brand. So I'm just blending the gold into the pink, and then I also like to put it here on the inner corner. I'm gonna go into the silver shade next with an ESOM T05, and I like to use this on the lower lash line. I feel like it just creates a really beautiful brightening effect, but honestly, any of these shimmer shades, you could do a one and done, or you could do a little bit of something in the crease, doesn't even need to be the burgundy, and then just the metallic all over the eye. Do you see how much that pops? They're so beautifully pigmented. I wouldn't say that this formula is different than the formula in the other Prada palette. So just kind of keep that in mind. It's $12 more, but the formula isn't different. It's really just the packaging. And if you really, really like this color story. Now I'm gonna go into the matte shade with an ESOM S33. The mattes are also a little bit on the creamy side, but you can kind of think of it as a very soft and suede type of texture. They blend really beautifully, and I'm just building that up in the outer crease right here. I do appreciate that the burgundy is a lot darker than some of the ones that I've been seeing in some of the other makeup that's been launched this season, because I think if it is lighter, it just comes across more red, and I don't personally love anything that's too bright of a red. If you're going to use the matte shade as a liner, I highly recommend wetting your brush. I just run it under the sink. I have the ESOM T05 here again, because this is gonna make the color of your liner just so much richer and more pigmented. The line is going to be a lot crisper. I found that when I didn't wet my brush, it was just a little bit too soft for my liking. You saw when I put it in the crease there. That works. Like, that's beautiful. I want that to be soft, but if I'm doing a liner, I want it to pop a little bit more, if that makes sense. I wanted to add a little bit more dimension, and I basically just take the brush, and that's my line right there. Like, I barely have to do anything, but wetting it really, really makes a difference. I just applied 2 coats of the ESOM mascara, and this is the final look. Comment down below, let me know what you think. I highly recommend just blending around the perimeter of the eye look with a little bit of like setting powder, finishing powder. I like to use the ones from Hourglass, especially if you feel like the burgundy has a little bit too much of like a harsh halo, if you feel like it's too much. I highly recommend just blending around. That's how I get it to look very soft and diffused and just finished. So that's a little tip for you. I absolutely love the way that this looks. I'm gonna have to do some more looks with this palette, because you definitely can do more of like a silvery look, or you could really, you know, go into the gold. There's a lot of different things you can do with just these 4 colors. I feel like it's very versatile. Overall, I have to be honest, I do really like this palette. I am a little bit peeved that they increased the price so much for what is not really much of a difference in the packaging. Personally, as somebody who really likes the packaging, the vibe, the formula, everything about the Prada eyeshadows, I am willing to pay the extra $10 because I really like this color story. I feel like, at least for me, this is the most wearable one that they have in the line, because a lot of the other ones, like, there's always one color that I'm not too sure about, or maybe I wouldn't wear for every day. But with this palette, I just brought it on a trip with me. I was in Boston for 5 days, and I wore this almost every single day, or I would dip into this palette and kind of combine it with other ones that I had in my travel makeup bag. I do feel like this is a look that I would wear out, or at the very least, I could do, you know, one of these shimmers and the matte. So for me, I absolutely love it. In fact, this is one of my favorite holiday releases of the season. I just think it's great. I don't think you're gonna be disappointed unless you're somebody who really doesn't like burgundy tones, or if you really don't like high shine foily shadows. Don't convince yourself to get this just because, you know, it's Prada, it's the new thing. If you don't like super high shine foily metallic shadows, this isn't going to work for you. I also feel like the longevity of this is really good. Because it's such a creamy formula, it creases maybe just a tiny bit, but like not enough that I think anybody would notice. It's like me getting really up close and seeing like right there, maybe like a tiny little bit of creasing, but nothing that upset me. I think it's great. I don't use a primer or anything like that. So overall, guys, I really like this palette. I've really enjoyed using it over the past couple of days. Now, before we go and you potentially spend $92 on this, I do want to point out a couple of things. The first thing is that there are some similar shades in the holiday palette that are in some of the ones in the main collection. So for example, this is the 05 palette. Oh, hello, Minnie. My cat has joined us today. What a special video! We have the gold shade that's in the 05 palette. I think this one is called Pure. And then we also already have a silver in the 02 palette. I'll show you guys a side-by-side here of these shades with the holiday ones. They really are not all that different. It's almost exact. Maybe if there's a little bit of a difference, the ones in the holiday palette are like a tiny bit more sparkly, but it's really, really similar. It kind of seems like they just took some of the existing shades and maybe added a little bit of shimmer to them. And that kind of brings me to my second point, which is these shades in particular, while I really enjoy them in a single palette, they're not the most unique. Take a look in your collection and see, you know, do you have a shimmering pink from a Charlotte Tilbury palette? Do you have silver and gold for maybe like a Pat McGrath palette? You probably could dupe this. I still really like it. I don't regret it, but I'm just pointing it out, guys, because, you know, it's $92. And then the last thing that I want to mention, which was brought up by one or two of my subscribers. You guys DM'd me on Instagram, and I'm so glad you did because I never would have thought of this. But some of you guys were asking me if this palette is similar to the Byredo Remembrance palette. Now, this is a much bigger palette, obviously, but there's a couple of shades in here that are very similar. I'll show you a side-by-side comparison. While the matte burgundy shade isn't really found exactly in the Byredo Remembrance palette, it's pretty close. Like, there's some shades that are pretty close. I would say this is a great dupe, a great alternative to the Prada palette. Unfortunately, this palette was limited edition. It was very popular, it sold out. Maybe you can find it on eBay or something like that, so I'm sorry to tease you if you're new here and you're not familiar with this or you didn't get it, but a lot of you guys have this palette, so I wouldn't spend $92. And how much was this palette? This palette was like $105. It was like around $100, okay? So look out whenever Byredo launches another palette. So those are just a couple of call outs that I wanted to share with you guys. Overall, I really like the Prada Holiday palette. If you don't have these types of colors and these other comparison palettes, then you don't really need to worry about it. It's a great palette, great quality, love the packaging. It's up to you to decide if it's worth the $92, but personally, I really like it and recommend it. And that is it, my friends. Those are all of my thoughts. Make sure you leave me a comment down below. Let me know if you picked this up, because I know a lot of you guys did. I would love to hear your feedback, and if you did not, let me know what you think of the look that I created today. Give this video a big thumbs up if you liked it or found it helpful. Subscribe if you haven't already. And with that, friends, I hope that you see some beauty in your day, and I will see you in my next one. Goodbye. Goodbye.